Hey folks, your OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of the Q-Band Continuous Heart Rate Monitoring Fitness Tracker. So this is a part of a new generation of smart fitness trackers and wearables from this company that incorporates more advanced sensors but still keeps a very competitive price point of sub $40. So this one not only measures your heart rate using the traditional sensor you see on the back, but it also offers blood pressure monitoring, which is not a feature you typically find on these rather small fitness trackers. Of course, it also does the essentials such as counting your steps, calories burned, sleep monitoring using the accelerometer, and tracking your data and sending to friends and family. So it really has all of the features you would possibly want that's currently available in this type of technology in this one product. So you can see that the standby time is rated at around 5 to 7 days, which also seems to be pretty good. It uses an OLED display for energy consumption just to keep things more efficient, and it comes with a few colors. We have the cyan blue version, also comes in green, as you see the packaging here. You can find this directly on Amazon in the links below, and inside the packaging you have access to a quick start guide that's printed in full color and includes a few QR codes you can scan to download the proprietary application. There's also a few info about what the various sensors and ports will correspond to. The smaller compartment features access to the proprietary charging cradle that uses 2 contact pins to wirelessly charge the unit. It takes about 3 hours to completely charge, and afterwards we did get around 5 to 6 days of usage with some sporadic syncing, maybe once at the end of every day and not tons of times throughout the day, and the battery will last you for quite a while. The cable length is a little short, but it's very easy to take with you when you're traveling, and it stays in place pretty well despite not using magnets to make the process a bit faster and more efficient. There is a small screen protector that you can optionally peel off, which I guess I'll do right now. But you can see that the material on the front here is fairly glossy. It doesn't make for the best experience if you're trying to see it under the sun, just because it does attract quite a bit of fingerprints and dust and smudges as you start using it. But all in all, it does look fairly elegant, and for the design of this fitness tracker that combines so many features from blood pressure to heart rate monitoring, it still remains really portable and seems stylish enough for both women and men to wear, so unisex. On the back here, we have access to the again, the sensors, which you'll see is made out of this tempered glass material, both for the heart rate in addition to the blood pressure. Obviously, the biggest concern is whether or not the heart rate monitoring is going to be as accurate as a more traditional mechanism that you might have to hold still for a minute or two to get a real measurement. So we'll have to do a bit more testing and give you guys a conclusion on that. The front also features a capacitive key that you tap on once to turn the unit on and cycle through the various modes. Here's what it looks like when popped onto a wrist. It stays in place pretty well, and the band is actually quite comfortable. A surprising element is instead of using a more traditional fitness tracker lock, they actually went with a more typical watch band style that really grips in place quite nicely, but again, is a little different from the types of locks you typically find from these low-cost fitness trackers. Otherwise, activating the unit is pretty easy. Just tap on it once and the display pops on. You can see the time and battery information quite easily just from a glance, and there's also the day of the week in addition to the date. I can tap on it once to cycle through the features, and the first one it looks like is going to be the heart rate, the blood pressure monitoring. So it takes actually a few seconds to measure this, as you would expect, but without any moving parts, so to speak. It doesn't actually contract and squeeze down onto your wrist. This is a process that again is not going to be the most accurate compared to some more traditional and more expensive blood pressure monitoring devices, but it could be a quick way to check on this if you're worried about your blood pressure, or if you want to be a bit more cautious and add some extra data to take a look at. Tapping this once goes into the heart rate measuring aspect, which will continuously measure your heart rate. Once it's been set up correctly, again, it takes a few seconds again to find a pulse in some cases, but you can see here that it's working just fine now. Tapping on it once more also goes to the steps, so this will be your pedometer. It takes a look at how many steps you've taken throughout the day. Accidentally triggering this by shaking your wrist around doesn't seem to add more steps, so it seems to be fairly accurate as far as the sensor is concerned. You also get the display in terms of number of meters or miles that you've walked, depending on your setup in the app. Amount of calories burned is another feature that you'll have, in addition to amount of hours slept and deep sleep versus light sleep. Finally, you can swap the orientation, which is pretty nifty, so you can view things in a vertical view instead of horizontal. Finally, you can find your phone if it's been connected using Bluetooth to the Q-band, so that the phone will vibrate once you have that app installed, and you can turn the unit off completely to save on battery. even more. So it's very easy to get set up, and the overall UI UX is quite intuitive and easy to understand. So next we're going to take a quick look at the app. It actually only works with phones and not tablets, so that's something to quickly point out. You can see that it allows you to detect your pulse, your exercise, sleep, as well as your heart rate, the amount of steps you've taken, so on and so forth. So it supports all the features you want to have on the Q band itself. A few of the screenshots that you can see, this is what the dashboard looks like. It basically works as expected, and it's not the most elegant nor is it the most fully featured app for fitness in the world. Obviously, there are better options out there with more development, but for a fairly low-cost fitness tracker, it does the job and shows all the data that you really want. Heart rate here is displayed in a scatter plot-like view that you can then sort by time and by calendar. You can take a look at when you've been most active. Basically, it's a continuous heart rate tracking. So after 30 minutes, it automatically records your heart rate and sends the data into the app and saves it as one data point. So that's how it works to save on your battery. But you can take a look at how active you've been throughout the day. You can take a look at steps that you've taken. You can set goals, share it with friends and family, continuous heart rate that we talked about before, sleep, your quality depending on how much you've been moving around. It tells you how much you've been awake in addition to when you fell asleep. So all this data is presented in a fairly attractive UI that's fairly consistent. It doesn't, again, give you the most data in the world, but that's kind of expected from a low-cost app. That's a companion tool that's basically offered for free. But again, only works with phones and not tablets, and if you do try to install it manually on a tablet, sometimes it will crash. So all in all, that's been our quick video review of the Smart Q Band. I would really say this is one of the most advanced fitness trackers that I've seen in this price category of only sub $40. Not only is it really well made, the band is comfortable to wear, it's stacked to the brim with the latest sensors and features, from blood pressure monitoring to heart rate monitoring to the usual sleep tracking, step tracking, calorie burning tracking, and everything works really well. The display is easy to read, it's easy to get set up with your app, and surprisingly, everything works as you would expect. So at this price point, it's definitely a bargain, and I think it's one of the more underrated fitness trackers currently available on the market, and definitely a contender for one of my personal favorites that I've reviewed. I can definitely see myself wearing this in a day-to-day just because it's not that bulky, but still adds quite a bit of versatility and usability. Now, it definitely isn't as fully featured as, say, a smart watch, but for some quick notifications as well as knowing if you're connected to your phone in case you've lost it, if you want to search your phone and let it vibrate, you can do all those core functions using this as well. And so if you don't care about all the notifications in the world, you still get what you're looking for in addition to a wealth of quite good fitness tracking tools. So anyways, guys, this has been a review. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the blood pressure version of the Smart Q Band.